Hello, good evening and welcome. How is everyone? How the hell is everyone? I've got an Ian Ully. Good evening and welcome. How we going, Ian? Who else is there? We've got four. We have four. Oh, well, what have I been doing today? Nothing. No, that's the answer, if I'm fully honest. All right, I got on for a minute or two with PJ. I keep forgetting it's not the tavern, and I try to avoid making a noise when I'm going on YouTube, looking at other stuff. I try to join in with the chat, then realise it's not the tavern. Not the sharpest tool in the box. I eat crayons sometimes. The purple ones are good. Good evening, Valleys. Good evening, Mick. Good to see y'all. Oh. Well, I've not been messing with railways, and I've not been messing with diecast this weekend. I've been having a go at some of my Warhammer. I've been doing some Tyranids. I bought a box set with paints, and I hated the colour scheme that was suggested on the box. It's a bloody ugly scheme, to be honest. What it reminded me of was, hang on, let me think. It reminded me of a 1980s electronic music album cover. If I find the box, I'll show you. Oh, ghastly colour. It was very 1980s. Yeah, you can't eat Sharpies as easy, Mick. Crayons are far easier to chew. Where's it gone? Never mind. Disappeared into the ionosphere. I had it earlier. One of life's fucking mysteries again. Yeah, I find Sharpies, you're better off with them. Just sucking the ink through the nib. You can make a nice cordial out of them. Hey, what was that? Ah, hallelujah. Come forth, said the Lord, and I come fifth and got a bag of peanuts. So what's everybody been up to today? Anybody been up to out good? This week has been, well, I've been really bad. I've been ill, really ill. I didn't realise how ill I had been, to be honest. For a good few years, I've not realised. I can't put my finger on the spot of when exactly it went to shit. But I was getting worse and worse every month. I was getting worse and worse. And it was discovered this week my drugs weren't tailored correctly and I had extremely low potassium levels. Why, aye, all right, Andy, good to see you. Yeah, I had very low potassium levels and it was just, it just made so many things wrong with my health. It was unreal. I feel more, I feel more lively now. And I still have aches and pains, but they're considerably less. Still take painkillers because of my age, but considerably less than they were. I used to look at the corridor at work and it looked like a never ending corridor with no end to it. And now it just looks like a corridor, so I can actually see it better as well. My eyesight's better. It was like cloudy before. I think that was. I also had a lot of floaters in my eye, which were protein floating around. That settled down a bit. I've still not got perfect eyesight. I have to get on with doing my track work. I'm paying a bit. I'm trying not to spend any money. Though next month or so, I'm saving. So bloody hell! Oh for the for the case of a bag of track pins. Oh yeah, bloody need on my knees are shot, my hips are shot, my hands on my knuckles are shot. But I've got rid of it this week. I've got rid of a lot. Well, last couple of weeks, I've got rid of a lot of health issues because doctors got us on. He's trying to get us on right tailored medicine, but the main big difference was he gave me potassium tablets to bring my levels back up and give me a water tablet so it affects my urine, so I'm not getting rid of the potassium I was getting rid of. So I think he might be changing one of my drugs to slow it down as well. But well, that bruise is dying down now. Got a bruise there from one blood test. Well, they put it in other arm. That one didn't come up. They've been like bloody vampires. PJ wouldn't print off bionic parts for me. Yeah, PJ wouldn't print off bionic parts for me, Ian. He'd print a skip off. Chuck me in it. Mind, mind you, the way he's going with his skip, I should have a long life. Ooh, bitch. He's not having a lot of luck with that skip. The way he's going, I mean. Oh, geez, that doesn't sound fun, Ian. I, I mean, I shouldn't. 'Cause, 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 I mean, I should because I'd probably end up with one. But I don't know whether you've heard Lee Evans. I love him as a comedian. I loved him since I first saw him. And he said, I went to IKEA the other week and he said, and I learnt to suit. He said, I learnt to speak Swedish. He said, I tried picking the pack. He said, I tried picking one of the packs up and I went, oh, you're discerning you. Yeah, he's very, very funny, Lee Evans. Talk about manic, though. I loved him. He's such a manic comedian. He's very, very witty. And I love him because he's observational comedy as well. Stuff he notices, and he's spot on. I love observational comedians. They're absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I don't mind Jimmy. I can watch Jimmy Carmick. He's not one of my favourites, but he is good. I can watch him. I get the things that put me off Jimmy. It can go on to disability, and same with Frankie as well. They both can go a bit over the top with disability and stuff. I mean, yeah, it will do, Ian. It's not a good thing. And one of my friends has it, and his stomach is out to one side. He has big lump on one side. He said, oh, I don't know. I think I hernias when the muscle comes through the stomach wall, isn't it, or something, or abdomen wall, something like that. Bloody painful. Well, I'd imagine it is. I've not, like I say, I've been fortunate. I do other shit like breaking bones and fucking nearly losing legs and shit through motorcycles. I'll give them days up now, though. I did one in early before I gave up motorcycling, but I changed my mind. I'm too old for that shit now. There's a lot of riders, they go on in their 60s and say, but you're too old for big bikes in your 60s and 70s. They're full of shit when they say they can do what they did when they were younger. What the hell, Ian? In off the Russian snooker player in off the net. Russian man with 3 testicles. Eugenik Abalikov. Chinese muck spreading by who flung dung. Chinese snooker player, Wang Mon in. All the old ones, God. Some stuff like that. Rusty Bed Springs by IP Knightley. Oh, brilliant, Mick. What do you call 5 sheep tied to a fence in Wales? Leisure centre. Sorry, Valleys, had to be done. Like the New Zealander walking through Wales. Sees a shepherd shearing sheep. He says, "Hey, up." He said, "Are you shearing?" He said, "No, fuck off and get your own." That's the end of bad life. Mind you, there's enough. Gotta pick the pocket out too. God, I was in that as a kid. I was a workhouse boy and one of Fagin's mob. I fitted in better as Fagin's mob. It were good fun. You go first. You go first. Jesus, mate. Oh, I love them. I love silly stuff like that. Well, this week, my favourite thing I've got this week, and it'll surprise people, it's one I can recommend. They're really beautiful kits. Well, it's not even a kit, it's a resin moulding and it's a set. And you get everything in one box. What it doesn't tell you till the instructions, though, is you still have to add some things. So if you get one and before you start, you still have to go out and get some things to add to it. But having said that, there can be a centerpiece of a nice little diorama with perhaps 1/35 figures or perhaps a car, but they're actually a beautiful little set. And I'll get on with showing it, yeah. It's an AK set. And they build in fronts. Like this one, you get a resin building front, you get all the paints to paint it. You get the paints are acrylic and you get an enamel wash with it. You get a sheet of acetate for the windows. You get the motel sign, paint brushes, everything is there in it for you to make. Hang on, without losing anything. You get the instructions. There's your sign for it from the hotel sign. But talk about a beautifully laid out set. Really cared about and thought about. That's the idea. You get paints and washes and stuff. The only thing that disappointed me a bit, they leave you to do your own shop store window. Now that, you're led to think there's a decal to go on it for the shop name there, but there isn't. You get no shop sign in it. And I think really they should have give you that decal in with it. But other than that, it's a fantastic kit. or a fantastic set, I should say. It's not really a kit. I don't designate one main resin moulding, two resin parts, and an acetate slicer kit. No, I think they're only 1/35th. It doesn't say the scale on it. It may be free scale, but it is a really nice setup. They do 4 different ones, but up to now there's not many in the UK. There's only 1 or 2 of them in the UK, so I'd say they're a continental thing, more popular on the continent. Well, that I think it'll be good in a 1/35th diorama, because it looks about 1/35th scale, I'd say. Yeah, that'd be good. See, you're thinking, Ian, on the you could actually cut the front window out. Hey, you give me ideas here. You could actually cut the front window and perhaps the door and make an arkwright shop. Hey, I'm thinking here. I'm going having a look at the sorts they do. Mind you, 176, because it's model railways and everything. I have a Hornby set of models that'll cover that better, an Hornby kit. I could make arkwright store out of in a different scale. But yeah, there's some good ideas you can do with it. But arkwright store, and look, that's an idea for a diorama, because there were a number of cars, well, vans and stuff, they parked outside the front because they did the mobile shop one. When he had a washing machine delivered, they had a Ford Transit delivering washing machine. They had a minivan. So a minivan were one of them. What else did they have out? Oh, they had the hearse and funeral processions for Paslow's funeral. Nurse Gladys's Moggy, yeah. You could have that, Vallis. Granville with a push bike, spot on. The old grocer's bike with the basket on front. The old Ovis advert. My dad always said it were a bloody one way for an loaf of bread. For those of you that remember the two Ronnies, Ovis sketch. Yeah, all those that remember the old two Ronnies. Good evening, Raymond. Good to see you, fella. Yeah, you're right, Valleys. That's familiar. Beautiful bit of scenery it is. If you went there to change, I bet it's still similar but different. People can't resist ruining the good old beautiful British views now. They like putting bloody windmills up or put solar panels up. They don't like seeing old views now, I don't think. There'll come a time when they regret everything they're doing. I'll probably be gone, but there will be a time when they'll regret everything they're doing. this generation. It's a beautiful view, valleys. I know that much. Hi, Jessica. Good seeing you again. Yeah, it's a sad thing. I get progress, but I'd like to honestly see, before you fully indulge in it, the actual real cost to the environment. Because you're not telling me building them huge wind turbines is like environmentally friendly and putting them everywhere, all over every hillside instead of just one power station. Mine, because end of the day, you still have to have the wiring to move the electricity about, no matter what you do. So you'll still need pylons. You still need the national grid of pylons. Yeah, that was a good one, Ian. He was a very clever man, Ronnie Barker. Somebody the other day, right, rated Ronnie Corbett as a legend. I said, a legendary comedian. Now, I don't. Some people may argue. But if you watch TV series after, Ronnie Corbett's were dire. He wasn't funny because all the comedy were coming from Barker. He was just going through Corbett, really, as a sidekick. Don't get me wrong, together I loved them. They were great together, but on his own, Corbett wasn't a legendary comedian. Yeah, he wasn't funny, Valleys. Yeah, you're very right, Raymond. Like, a lot of the girls at our place, and we're taking patients to see it. Apparently, everyone's slating this Joker movie. But how do you know if you're going to like it if you just go off one critic's opinion in a newspaper? You don't even know if you'll like a film. If I paid attention to some of the critics, I wouldn't watch half the stuff I watch and enjoy it. Because apparently all the stuff I watch is crap. Hang on, I think my head's not level. Have I bent these already? Oh, short answer, yeah. Either that or my ears aren't level. Yeah, electric stuff. No matter how you try to get round it, all these morons just stop oil. Where do you think all your materials come from? And making the items, where do you think lubricants come from? And if you have to harden metals, they have to be oil quenched after heating them to red hot. So you have to quench them in oil to harden them. And because I used to do the job, yeah, And the tanks, when they come out, fair enough, the oil's in for a while, but the huge tanks, and every so often, they have to empty it and ditch it for service, the furnaces. Exactly, Valleys. You can't go off one film critic, you mate. I've I've seen music critics diss music I love. Yeah, just something enjoyable to watch. What you got there, Granville? I get a deep sense of foreboding, he says. Granville says, isn't that five boarding? Get your cloth. Yeah, it's you know all these green people that think they're green, they're no greener than what's gone before. They just they just bringing along new problems. Because it'll all have junk they have to dispose. They're already creating problems of where to dispose of the batteries. Yeah, they do. I don't know. You know, apart from Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island, and they've got to grips more with nuclear since then. Really, they were still. You can turn the 70s and 80s. They were still experimenting, and Chernobyl was a big fuck up with lots of concentration. But to be honest, to me, nuclear is the most. Sounds stupid, but it is the most environmentally friendly and the best way forward. But nobody wants it in the backyard. Sorry, I was just looking back at comedy. Yeah, yeah, there's that in Japan, isn't there? Because that's all abandoned. I like looking at. I don't know if anybody here is into it, but I like urbex photography, like urban exploring, and it's all derelict buildings and ghost towns and abandoned things. And some people have gone into Fukushima. They've gone into supermarkets, and what a mess! Like it's just been left, hasn't it? Nothing touched, and like the thing is, the animals don't understand it's a radiation zone. You've got two-headed rats and shit. But the rats are going into supermarkets and eating food, and it's all free range to them. and the supermarkets are full of crap, and you can see all the rats' footprints and insects where they've been, and like it's just, but it's fascinating to look at everything that's left and the vastness of it from that tsunami. There was someone I think it were America. They got a container from a container ship in America, I think it were, and they opened it up and there was an Harley Davidson inside. And it turns out it was somebody in Japan and the tsunami had took it out to sea and it finally drifted back to America. So that's like an homing pigeon, isn't it, that? An Harley Davidson homing pigeon gone back from Japan to America. Well, that's all halfway around the world it's travelled. Well, all the way, really, because it's like half of the circle of the globe, so it's gone from top to bottom or wherever you wish. I think that'd be good, that, Andy. 6 winged flies. I don't, Ian, I don't even have a mobile phone. I won't have one of the things. They're a blight on society. They were good as they started off with their intentions when it was just a phone. But today there's so many things on them. People don't know when to put them down. We've had people bollocked at work for being blunt, sat on one-to-one patients and they've got a mobile phone in room. They're not foolish. They don't realise it's for their own good as well, because you sat with a patient on your own in a room and you've got every camera has a phone. It's only a minute away from an accusation. Yeah, there's an airport there with aircraft left as well, Valleys. Yeah, they left. I think it's Nicosia, is it, airport? I think there's 2 aircraft left there. Yeah, but the car dealers definitely have the cars left in. I've got to look that up now. I'm sure it's Nicosia Airport. Just have a look. Yeah, it is Nicosia. Trying to find out the aircraft. Tell you in a sec. It's just saying there's a lot that have been inside and photographed it. But it was at one time an RAF base. And a friend has done a painting of it in RAF times with one of the RAF transports. Fantastic. Well, I'd love to see that, Val. Mind you, I'll look around and I'll probably see it. There's two underwater. There's two ATFs on underwater. Hang on, are they ATFs or are they 5Fs? They might be 5Fs. Well, there's two that were on the Thistlegorm when it was sunk. Two locals. One went over the side and it's on the seabed. I think the tender stayed on deck. But in the 1970s, first time I saw that wreck, it's a fantastic wreck, the Thistlegorm. And Jacques Cousteau dived it. But amazing thing. It's got tanks, lorries, motorbikes, loads of big essays and Norton motorbikes. But the most amazing thing, only the British could do this. They're sending a ship of supplies to North Africa for fighting in the desert, and there's thousands of pairs of wellies there. Only the British could send wellies for fighting in the desert. Truck Lagoon's fascinating as well. Yeah, it is. The Britannic's good. Truck is an amazing. It's an amazing place, Truck Lagoon. There's another place, I'm trying to think where it is. And it's a place where there were a cliff and there were deep water under the cliff. And there were an American airbase at the top of the cliff. And they used to throw things they didn't need just, days before environmental thoughts. They just threw them off the edge of the cliff into the sea. And there's a stack of vehicles, aircraft, motorcycles, tanks, everything stacked on top of it. And it's a huge stack. If it were me, Valleys, I'd bloody marry her. Yeah, but the stack of the stuff there, amazing. I mean, I'd like to see just off the coast of Vietnam, because when the Americans evacuated from Vietnam, they had ships, aircraft carriers and stuff, and they were flying Hueys out of the country. And as they were going, they were taking, like, what do you call it? They were taking, what do you call it when you flee country? I can't think of them now. Well, they were taking Hueys full of people and they put them down on the ship. And because they had no room on the ship for the helicopters, they'd served their purpose because they were being evacuated and they were taking evacuees, that's the word I'm looking for. They were taking evacuees on the helicopters, landing on the ship, because they weren't going to go back in, like they had loads of helicopters in Nam when they were evacuating. They took the evacuees on them, landed them on the ship and threw them in the sea. Refugee evacuee, mate. Well, that's what they were doing. They flew them out from the US Embassy, etc. They'd have all the refugees and evacuees on. They'd have a U full of them, as many as they could fly with on it. Put it down on a ship, and they couldn't put the U. They didn't have room to store the U, so overboard it went because they weren't going to go in with it again. Struth. Yeah, just bin them in. Taxpayers shouting, "Well, you fuckers, I paid for that. What are you doing with me money?" But it just comes to that with a military thing. When you're doing ops like that, we haven't the room, and what do you take? People or the helis? Over the side with the heli. Oh, Fandy. It does indeed, Mickey. You think of it, you'd have to have people to strip it, but it's not the cost involved, it's there were that many coming out and landing on deck. Say it were an aircraft carrier, they maxed out for storage with the aircraft for operations, and they're going to keep their own aircraft, so they'll just bin the helicopters. They already had Sea Kings on their aircraft carriers. And they folded down the rotors and everything for spares. And I don't think Yui rotors fold down. Although, to be fair, they're only twin rotor blades, so they could be stored in line. But it's still space that's being took up when you want it for jets and your own helis. But yes, a Yui's rotors, not a Yui, a Sea King's rotors all unhinged, and you can store them down the side, all 6 of the blades downside. I think, are they 6 or 5 Sea King? Might be 5, but I thought they were 6. Might be 5 blades. That's something else I'll have to have a look at now. I'm interested. Yeah, it is 6. I thought it was 6 main rotor blades. Or is it? No, maybe it's 5. Yeah, I think it's 5 blades. Looking at all ones here, it was just how one was photographed that made it look like 6. Yeah, it's 5. It's an uneven number. But yeah, they did stuff like that with them. World War II, same thing. They just discarded them. If you looked at the lines of B-29 bombers in scrapyards and refuelers after the war that weren't needed, and it were brand new aircraft then, but still scrapped it. It was like government scrap aircraft that cost them millions billions to develop. Yeah, I'd say it is 5 valleys. The pic I looked at, it was a deceptive angle, and it looked like 6, but I'm pretty sure it is 5. Because all the other photos, they look like, it looks like an uneven number rather than an even. I haven't changed any settings, I just repaired my main room light. So I've got more room, I've got more light on each side now, Ian. Yeah, so I've given it, it's not a case of changing settings, it's a case of I've got another light bulb going now. Wait a minute. I'm pointing there. Well, it's it's that side. Go. I don't know. Go that side. I don't know. It's confusing out. Which way does this? I think it actually. Yeah, it shows the picture. It's not like a mirror. Your brain tells you when you're looking at the screen because you're seeing your own face. You're looking at a mirror, but everything's opposite to how a mirror does it. So you see it the right way around. Sounds weird. But if you look at stuff in the mirror, it's the wrong way around. Yeah, it probably has, Ian. It probably has. It's a lot better lighting. I've put it off for ages. I should have done it ages ago. I have a dimmer switch, and the dimmer switch is burned out eventually. So I've had to replace 2 of them because they must have been done about the same time and both burned out about the same time. So I replaced both of them the other day. No, there's a lot of. I don't get progress just so they can say they're progressing, and they're not really progressing. The modern world's off its head at the moment. It's ridiculous. Well, the British Isles, the electric company, is owned by French. Or is it Gascar? I think it's it's electric company owned by French. I was forced into a smart meter, valleys. They really pissed me off. I think they shut it down deliberate. You can't prove anything, but I think they shut it down deliberate, then say, oh, it's broken, you can't get these anymore. Because it were fine, but it's been right for 18 years, all the time I've lived here. And all of a sudden, I got a phone call, we'd like to know if you're interested in a smart meter. I said, no, you're not putting one in on any shape or form. And he went, right, okay. And a bit later, they phoned up again. We want to know if you're interested in it. I've said, I've told you no. I don't want, and they mithered and mithered. And eventually, my meter went and I couldn't get a card for it and everything, and it wouldn't work. And they said, oh, we'll come out and replace it as an emergency. And they replaced it as an emergency. They put a smart meter in. And it was a gas one. But then they said there was a battery on the gas meter. So I think they could tell what were going on that, and they had some degree of control on it, because then they said, because they have electric and gas for a month, they said, oh, you need to have the smart meter to run this meter. And I went, oh, I better do, yeah. And you can't argue with them. And they basically forced it on me, even though I told them I didn't want it. So it pissed me off, really. But on the other hand, they argue about it, because I get me gas and electric very cheap from a company that not many know about. So you can't really complain about it, but I was pissed off. I weren't happy at having been, well, you're being forced into having it, really, to toe the line with a new narrative. No, they can't force you, but they can make it damned awkward for you. I manage that good too as well, Jessica. The fastest stuff you can get picked up round here is if you have scrap metal. If you put it outside the bin store, it's gone in 10 seconds. Pikey's nick it. Oh, there goes my channel. I said Pikey's. Well, they do. They rob it. You put a bicycle or a bed frame, a metal bed frame, up against the bin store, gone in a flash, or a fridge or a washing machine. I'm saying nothing, Jessica. I I had an instance I had to use the wax toilet rather swiftly. The, the other, only 2 days ago, I had to use it swiftly, and one of the girls, she said, I need to go to the toilet. Can you look after patient? I said, sure, love. And the toilet's only 2 doors wet. She went in after me, and all I heard was, you dirty bastard, who's that? I was crying, laughing, then I had to straighten up before she come back. Yeah, it's good. It's a good idea, really. Yeah, it is a gambling and losing. Oh, but yeah, I've, I've done it a couple of times. I've farted while I've been walking down corridor, and somebody walking down after me has gone, "Oh my God!" They say, "Whose room is that coming from?" Thinking it's a patient. I thought, no, sorry. Yeah, it's like two doctors talking to each other in corridor, and there's a guy walking towards him. He says, "See that guy there walking?" He said, "I think he has piles." And the other doctor says, "No," he says, "let's be honest. I think he has bad knees." And he went, right, okay, wait till he gets here and we ask him. And they ask him when he gets there, and he says, right, he said, you thought it were piles. He says, well, you're wrong. And he says, and you thought it were bad knees. He said, and you're wrong. And he said, and I thought it were a fart. Oh, you know something, Valleys? My dad were ex-Royal Navy. And he went through most of his life hating homosexuals. And when he got older, he didn't like anything they did. Couldn't do anything right. And later on in life, he got to about 65, past retirement, and Julie and Clary were on telly and he were in hysterics. And I said, you do realise he's gay, don't you? And he went, yeah, but he said, I really like it, he's funny. And after that, he mellowed out. He weren't asked. But he was funny. Before that, he couldn't stand them. He thought they should all be shot and everything. Well, Mick, if you worked with a guy who set fire to his own farts, you know another as well. Because I ain't gonna lie, I've done it. It's a bit of an arse when you singe your own arse hairs, though. So, I get it, that's wrong on so many levels in a lift. It's like sex in a multi-storey car park. Wrong on all levels. If you get a big enough flame out, Mick, you take your testicle hairs as well. Not saying how I know. Let's just say I were very drunk, I were very stoned, and it was the early 80s. Where if you think I'm bad now, back then I had no limits. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I did some stupid things when I'm bad now, but I did some ridiculously stupid things back then, which you should do as a teenager. You've not lived life if you haven't done stupid things as a teenager. 18-year-old, I was round back a drive where I lived, dumping a 28-year-old. Me dad were, God, you can do better than that. I know I can, but she's there. She's there and I'm 18. I'm like a rabbit, Dad. Stuff you do. You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will. Oh, what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. And I have to say, at one time, I very nearly bought the Kawasaki 900. There was one for sale for restoration. and I very nearly bought it, but I ended up with a Yamaha 600. Mind you, I also nearly bought Nick Mason's Honda VF 500. And that is one bike I regret not buying, because it went for stupidly low money. Because it was pink. I thought, Jesus, it's Nick Mason's. It's Pink Floyd memorabilia, and it went for practically nothing. I can't believe no Pink Floyd. That must have been bought by a collector rather than a biker that were a Floyd fan, because it should have gone for a lot more money than it did. He had it custom. He had it. I think there's a company called Dream Machine, and I'm pretty sure they specialised in bikes back in the day. They may still be going, but Dream Machine specialised in just in motorcycle paint. And they were called Dream Machine. They were advertised in most bike ads. I'd imagine they'd have done Nick Mason's pink VF 500. Quite possibly does, Valleys. Here's a question for you, Valleys. Who was the first person in the UK to own a Fender Stratocaster? I think Mick knows, so quiet, Mick. He might know it anyway. Yeah, he was indeed, Valleys. Cliff Richard bought it for him because he was in his backing band. But Hank Marvin had the first Fender Stratocaster in UK. You were guess spot on. Cliff Richard bought it for him because he were a backing group. Bought it for him as a present. Yeah, the Shadows, same thing, in it? Hank Marvin, the Shadows. Great guitarists they were. Sadly overlooked now when people mention great guitarists nowadays. The Shadows get overlooked a lot. Sadly, because they were a fantastic group. They've covered so many music genders as well, or genres, or whatever you want to call it. They did I think it's Rendezvous 5 they did. Jean-Michel Jarre, that's a good effort. Bloody hell, that's a big collection, Raymond. True. Really, if you look at Status Quo, they sort of fell into that category as well, Valleys. You look at their back catalogue of work and cover versions for Status Quo as well as their own work. The cover versions they've done are astronomical. Nowed up with violin. I like watching, what's that girl's name? She has the electronic fiddle on YouTube. She often plays with Ali the Piper, like her on bagpipes, and I can't think of her name. She has an electronic fiddler. Fiddler. Ooh, that's a different thing. That's Gary Glitter. Francis Rossi. You know, they were, if you watched interviews, they were such a fantastic pairing. I loved watching them lads when they were interviewed. Rossi and Parfit together. They were so entertaining in interviews. They used to say when we go on tour, we're like an old married couple. He said, we're in the hotel room with Coco, tucked up watching films. Oh, that'd be interesting, see, Raymond. I've not heard of that one. No, probably not, Ian. Cliff and the Drifters. I'll have to look that up after. They did indeed, valleys. Pictures of matchstick men down the dust pipe. Stuff like that. Yeah, you know, it's sad, Raymond. He had such a legacy and he spoiled it. Because glam rock, he were glam rock, Gary Glitter. Now, don't we, valleys? You know, because of everything that's gone on, they forget his music, his fantastic catalogue. I watched the old concerts on YouTube, and I wholeheartedly don't agree with what he did, but I don't think it should stop you enjoying the music. Yeah, that's a definite no, Raymond. But yeah, I fully disagree with what he did, but I still love the music. There's football teams in America still use the Hey song for cheerleading and everything. Still popular in America. Well, that's it, Mick. You know, I know he composed them and that, but it's still good music, and I can separate that from what he did. You'll never get rid of the music. It's written, it's out there. People will know it. People will still play it. It's still classic. In the day, he was glam rock, so he still has his position in music. It's just each to their own, Mick. But I separate the two because it weren't his actual tunes that did the crime. It was him himself. Like, where do you stop with? I don't know. There's Little Richard. Little Richard. You could say him. What were his other name? Jerry Lee Lewis. He was saying what he was doing wasn't frowned on in his own country. But when he come to the UK, it was frowned on here, and it led to him being frowned on everywhere else. But he said it's a common thing in rural parts of the US to marry your cousin or go out with your cousin, and they're that sort of age as well. He said it was a culture. I've not seen that one, Raymond. I'll have to look out for it. I'll tell you what, when Jimmy Savile was caught, if you went on eBay, everybody was selling the Jim will fix it medals. And I'll guarantee whoever snapped them up will make money in the future for the memorabilia and the time. Because society's changing, they're going that way. Yeah, it's years ago, Valleys, it was a common thing. Not just in America, here as well. Communities were smaller and there was less moving about, so you're going to get relations seeing each other at one point or another. I mean, you draw the line at brother and sister. I mean, we don't all live in Radcliffe. That's it. I've lost all my supporters from Radcliffe. Well, that's what I mean. That's where it came from, weren't it? And it was just the thing out there. It was a done cultural thing. Yeah, and in some parts of Wales, point taken, valleys. Oh, that's Merthyr behaviour. Tell you, next village over, you can tell some of them they've got 6 toes on each hand. Oh, yeah, it is. That's how we wind up villages next to each other, even in England. England, Wales, but well, in the past it did go on. When you got small communities and there weren't many options at the local, like, village dance, sorry, I'll take my cousin home. Hey, if we hit the lottery, Struth, if that'd be me behaviour, I don't want to. I already can't move for shit. And yet he ended up doing 2 little boys. No, sorry. Radcliffe were men of men, and so were the women. Oh, that sounds cool, Raymond. Can you see what it is yet? Actually, there's some guys on, and they have bigger versions, but it's the same. Essentially, it's the same thing as a stylophone, and they can play some wicked tunes on them. Even the stylophone, if you got somebody who got used to it and could play it, they could play some good tunes. Half of the ones I come across, though, you couldn't get to work proper. I don't know, Jestiger, but just for a minute, I think I'll have a go at the death. Yeah, they'll be watching and they won't have a clue I'm insulting them. Oh, God. There were two women where I work and they didn't get on whatsoever. And bless her, one of them, she's still there. Who, me? One of them, she's still there. And she's a bit mutton, like bad hearing, and she relies on lip reading. And we had a new starter. And she said something to her and she walked off. Anyhow, this woman she hated, she turned round to her, the new starter, and says, "Now we're ignorant." And she goes, "Oh no," she says, "she's a bit deaf and she doesn't hear what you say sometimes. She have to be in front of us so she can lip read." And she turns round, this woman from down the corridor, and says, "Don't you be telling everybody about me." And she turned round and walked off, and I went, "Fucking hell, she heard that." And she didn't hear that, and she can't, or she heard me, and she knows my sense of humour. Because then the woman concerned were like, "Fucking hell," and the new girl was fucking hell, and I was like, "Oh, I don't believe I've done that." Well, I'm half sweaty sock, Jester. What's that? What's that David Bowie used, Ian? Funniest one, funniest one I ever saw years ago. I worked in. It was a place that I did order picking. I were only there a week or so. I didn't like it, but some of the people were brilliant. And I used to order pick, and it were for curtain rails and curtain tracks and stuff. All you had all the different hooks, all the different fittings, all the different tracks. It was amazing the variety, and we did blinds and all sorts. Anyway, there was one of the women. She was in charge, and a bloke that was in charge. And one's at one side of the warehouse and one's at the other, and she shouts down, "Glenn!" Fucking Glenn don't pay any attention. "Glenn!" Don't pay any attention. "Glenn!" And she looks at me and goes, "Tell him I want him." Like she mouthed, "Tell him I want him." And I goes, "Glenn, she wants you." He said, "You bastard, I was fucking ignoring her." Oh, funny lad. Ah, right, get you. Get you, Ian. Ah, oh, that's terrible, Valleys. My brother's ex-forces, and he used to play rugby in the forces for regiment and stuff. And when he come out, he used to teach rugby to kids around Pontypool area. He used to teach rugby to them, and he, he said, I remember one Saturday, and he were about, what, 45, 50 back then. He said one Saturday it was freezing cold, pouring down. I was full of mud. He said, I've been battered about. And he said, and that was the point where I said, you're getting too old for this shit, son. And he said he gave up, but he used to love it. He played it all his life in forces and while he was instructing, but he said when you played it that long, he said I'd had one operation to put my leg right through playing rugby. So he was I, I'm ashamed to say if I get a nice malt I can go through it. sounds sounds familiar, that, Jessica. I'm half Scots, but yeah, happens here as well. Yeah, popular. It's you always had an axe to grind. And I say that in nicest way. The unions were good for what they were intended for originally, but by the 70s, when Thatcher got rid of them, she's hated for it, but it had to be done because it had got so militant and striking for stupid reasons. And for an instance, in speaking Liverpool, they got given the job of building the flagships, British Leyland's flagship car at the time. We couldn't get them in this country because America wanted them all. TR7, and they're widely known now as the worst one of them to own if you own a TR7, because they took production back to Canley. But they built them in Speke and Liverpool, and they were forever out on strike. They went on strike because they complained the factory smelled of cat piss. So they all went out on strike. And they were out for a good while. So they went, right, British Leyland got a team in at great expense, and they topped out. They did everything, cleaned everything in the old factory. And they said, right, it's all clean, smelling nice and fresh. Back in. They went back in. They were out within 10 minutes because the floor were damp. I don't know, Valley. Some things she gets hounded for a lot, but there are a lot of things she did that were necessary, and a lot that actually helped the working man, but they prefer to call her for it. Like, they turn round and say, oh, there's no housing through her, like she gave you right to buy. Hang on. She were giving the poorest in society the chance to get their own house at a sillily low price. Now, some of them abused it. Like, they made money, sold them and made money. Now, I don't know, it's one of them things. They wouldn't have been in the position they were, some people know, if it weren't through Thatcher. And yeah, I agree with it. I can see why miners were pissed off with Pitt's clausing, but there's the other view that so many things that were using coal were being done away with. British Railways had gone on to diesel. Like, they were getting smokeless zones all around the country. They got North Sea gas. Like, they modernised our full estate and took all the coal fires out and put gas fires in. And that were happening all around the country. So they were mining stuff that, and let's be honest, the British, when they sell stuff, we want a premium price for it. Because of the price of living here, basically. The Brits want a premium price for stuff. But because it were dwindling and how much we needed, they were going abroad at cheaper prices. Quite possibly, yeah, some have a very long grudge with her, and you can't tell me that there's not been people in power after. This new Labour government's a laughingstock, and they're going to crucify the working class. But a lot of people will still call Thatcher, and they'll go, oh, Labour, they're solid, they're brilliant. Well, if you're a pensioner, they've took your eating allowance off you, and they'll take a lot more off you in the next budget, and you'll get a lot more taxes. And Blair and Brown had their chance. And they actually, I lost a damn good job. I was a working man on a decent wage. And because Blair and Brown would not move on the exchange rate of the pound, we lost loads of exports. It killed the company. We had to make a full workforce redundant through Blair and Brown's policies. Oh, brilliant, Jessica. There's more of it in the world nowadays. Everybody's going everywhere. The bloody Africans are coming here. The British are going to Spain. Aussies are going to Earl's Court. Everybody, it's a word where people move about more now. It doesn't necessarily make it better. They just tell you to be diverse and stuff. Yeah, my old fella got one of them valleys. Unfortunately, my two granddads didn't see one. Two granddads both lost their lives, but my old fella got his D-mob suit. He also, ironically, when he come out, He got one of the prefabs that had been built on an army camp, and it's only about a quarter of a mile from where I live now. Over back, and it, where them prefabs were then, is a select estate now. You're paying a lot of money for a house in that area. Views over lodges and chocolate box views. And really nice houses. And my dad had a prefab on it from coming out of Royal Navy. I've not a clue what ours is, Mick. I think I said it last time I were on. But I had a lovely chat. I worked with Africans, Filipinos, everyone. And in general, I get on with all of them. I bit one the other day, female, because she said wrong thing to me. And I said, you'd better piss her. Because she said I shouldn't have said something when I work with it. But it's the way I work. That were it. That's what I said. I said it's the way I work. And if you don't like it, it's tough shit. I won't put up with these arseholes that try to tell you what you should be saying or thinking. I fuck them off rapidly. Yeah, you're right, Mick. Most are okay. The lad I was talking to is an African lad, and he turned round to me, and we're chatting. I have some deep and meaningfuls with him. He's a sound guy, and he said, I'm thinking of emigrating. I said, why are you thinking of emigrating, mate? I won't give his name. I said, why are you thinking of emigrating, mate? He says, you want to? And I said, yeah. He said, this isn't the country I came to. I said, in what way? He says, you don't have any value for families. He said, you're rude and arrogant to each other. He said, no matter who you are, you all think you're better than each other. Which is right. Some of the people are. He says, what else were it? He said, you've sold out on your values, you've sold out on your traditions, you've sold out on your customs. He said, you don't really have, nowadays, he said, you don't really have your own culture. You're that busy trying to look after everybody else's. It's spot on, Mick, and that's from an African lad. He said, it's not the place I wanted to come to. And the biggest trouble is, most Africans are the same as him and stuff. And the biggest problem we have is the middle class white home people. And they're there in the Citroen 2 CVs, desert wellies and tie-dyed clothes. Well, that's the old image. And like everything's loving, like the Benetton advert. And I'll guarantee you the fuckers won't talk to one. Because if they talked to one, they'd actually find out they thought they were dickheads as well. Yeah. It is, Ian. When I were at school, we had a black lad and we hung about with him. Didn't bother us about colour. We went in, we used to nick beer out of the pub's backyard, go and swig it, and we always got caught. And for years we couldn't work out why we'd been caught. Me and Dave, we couldn't work out how we got caught. And we only twigged after we left school. Eventually, when we were sat down talking one night, after a couple of beers, we said, I've worked it out how we got caught all the time. I said, go on now. I said, well, it were me, you and Dwayne, weren't it? We were always caught. I said, yeah, if we were taking shortcuts on cross country, drinking booze from it. I said, you know what it was, don't you? I said, go on. He said it was someone from outside school spotted us. Said they've rung the school because they recognised the uniform or the PE kit, because each school had their own PE kit. He said, so they recognised PE kit. He said, so they phoned up the school and the first question they asked was, what did they look like? And the answer was, I don't know, but one of them were black. So they instantly come to our class. As far as we were concerned, he were our mate. But as for why we got nicked with him, we didn't know. We didn't work it out. Race wasn't an issue to us. But yeah, we got nicked with him and stuff. But yeah, that were excellent. We didn't work it out till we'd left school. Why we were getting caught all the time. Yeah, funny sort of world. Like you say, racism isn't actually something kids come up with by themselves. It's taught to them by adults, and it's wrong. My old fella taught me very much on the leanings of, what do you call him, Martin Luther King, and like he taught us that. And I was brought up in my life where my dad was, there were black guys, Asian guys, and I was brought up with them and stuff. Yeah, it is, Raymond, but at the same time, I've sat with an African woman at the same time, and she's turned round and said to me, I'm afraid about all these people coming in on boats. I'm afraid for the future. Because her words, she said, because they're not nice people that are coming in like that. Because I sat down and I did, I don't know whether you still do it, but you know, they did nationality tests so they could get the green card or whatever it is. I don't know, citizenship, you know. And she came up to me, she said, oh, thank you for all the things we've talked about and you've answered for me. She said, it got me my nationality. I said, you're welcome, love. Nice woman, but when people like that are telling you, you're ignoring the facts that, and they're not, some of them that are coming in, they're going on to commit terrorist acts. Only the ones you're barely finding out about. Now, not all of them are doing that, but if you're getting one or two through the door, how many are intending to? And what are they up to? And the numbers are building. I know there's awful places, but then you've to ask the question, they've been brought up in these awful places with awful values and awful humanitarian values, and even the good ones are going to have some issues. Ah, I love that, Valleys. See, I have a laugh with with very similar have a very similar sense of humour to a Filipino lad I work with. And he's funny, and the other day we watched telly with Patience, and if Patients are asleep, we put stuff we like on ourselves, as long as we're keeping an eye on Patients and stuff. And I walked in one day, and he'd found his own country's Sky channel, because some of Patients have Sky, they pay for it with being long-term residents. And I walk in one day, and there's this Filipino cooking program, and there was some absolutely delicious looking stuff. And I was watching it, and I'm thinking, oh, that looks good. That looks good. Oh, that's awesome. Then all of a sudden, there's a bloody big plate of insects. I went, whoa, and that's enough. Boom, and turned over. I said, what the fuck were you watching there, Andre? It's like, oh, it's a look. It says it's one of national telly things or whatever. I went, rather you than me. I said, I was really enjoying watching. I said, the food looked lovely then. It come on to a big plate. He said, yeah, I know. I said, cheers, mate. That'll stick with me for a bit. I think the problem with the youth today, Ian, is they don't look up from the mobiles enough, even when they're in company. They don't talk to each other. I used to go in a pub as a teen. Well, just over teenage. When I first started going into a pub, you weren't split. You were to a degree. You'd go in with your own age group. But if you were in the pub, you had the older generation, and they were community pubs. And you had the older generation, and they'd be keeping an eye on the younger generation. And you got bollocks if you're up to anything. You also got off if you were good behaved. You also got in the pub when you were about 16, if you knew how to behave. If you drank responsibly and you behaved okay, no landlord used to argue. You get bollocks if you were caught, but that were a rarity back then. My mate, young lad, I think he was 15, and his mum cleaned at a pub, and he were going in the afternoon playing pool in the pub. Like, never bothered. But yeah, it's the community that's gone out. Used to have the old in there and they mix with young and you chat to each other. Had some interesting talks with the oldies when I was a teenager. I'm not keen on the idea either, Raymond, I assure you. They're trying to sell it to us, the powers that be. They can shove them up their ass. I'll tell you what, Valleys, one time, this'll make you chuckle. I used to deliver cars and pick them up and drop them off. I drove recovery wagons and all sorts. And I was taking out a Porsche 911 one day, taking out a 911 Carrera. And I'm on the motorway and I'm just pootling along about 70 mile an hour. And I went in the outside lane to overtake, and he only sped up a little bit. And I'd been past the car in notes. But this little boy racer in a Fiesta comes up here and he's flashing his lights and everything, get out of my way. And I thought, are you having a laugh? Who are you flashing at? Anyway, I dropped 2 gears and I just watched him like that in the mirror. Whoa! Gone. Thought, don't be silly, flashing the 911. You've got a fast car. This is a very fast car. Don't get me wrong, the Fiestas were good for what they were. A cheap, quick car at affordable money. I never watch it, Ian. Half of them are either has-beens or Z-listers. And to be fair, the careers failed in the first place because they either weren't that good or they'd run the course. I believe that, Valleys. Yeah, cockroach fricassee, no doubt. Yeah, thanks, Jessica. I'll give that restaurant a miss. Only one I ate was one of my mates having a laugh and I nearly puked. We went to, back in 1985, we were both bikers and we had an all-nighter. It might have been 86. We had an all-nighter one. No, it was 85. It were a summer night in 85. Or it may have been 80, I don't know. Anyway, we had an all-nighter. And there was a all-night cafe that were open. Middle of nowhere, all-night cafe. And there was a chain called Little Chef. Well, they decided to call themselves the Big Chef. Anyway, me and Steve Franshaw were in, one of the lads I knew. And we chatting and having a laugh and stuff, as you do at night. Bikers amongst each other. Anyway, I had a burger. And there were a moth flying around. Eating around, and I only turned me back for 2 seconds. Anyway, next thing you know, I turned back, moth's gone. I thought, oh, great, moth's gone. Stop bugging us. Anyway, I ate my burger and I said, it's a bit more peaceful now moth's gone, isn't it, Steve? He said, yeah, no, I caught it. He said, I said, where'd you put it? He said, on your burger. You bastard. You total arsehole, Steve. Well, apparently Carol Vardaman says she's been offered 250,000 to do it. And it's 249,999 more than I'd offer. I ate all of it, Valleys. My mate told me I had after. I wasn't an happy bunny. I ain't gonna lie, I watched once. I've seen a very naughty movie from before Julia Roberts were famous. And 100% it's her, but every time it goes up, it gets taken down quick, so she must have a legal team that's on the ball. It's not the flies around this part of the world, it's the yellow jackets that have you. Yeah, yellow jackets stinging around. Jesus, this time of year, you usually get them in your house because they're coming in out the cold. Where I work, we've just had an astronomically huge nest. Even the pest controller said it was huge. They've all been coming in from cold and making a nest. It's a winter over. But Jesus, the amount of wasps we had. Luckily, it were away from patients. It were in a corridor down to conservatory, but so it weren't. We could shut the doors on it and keep them out from patients. But geez, made it in a loft space. It was a huge nest. Could have fed a family of 5. I imagine a sandwich full of wasps would be like the Vindaloo of that insects. I'd imagine, just a thought. But yeah, some of the things on TV and that, there's some strange foreign programs. You think, seriously? Even I got to trouble. I get on really well with him, actually, one of the lads I work with, but he's a Filipino. And somebody one day asked me, they said, what does he look like? Because they were talking about him, and they said, what does he look like? I said, have you ever watched Takeshi's Castle? And me gay mate, Stuart, he says, that's wrong on many levels for you, that. I know, but what can you say? Yeah. The funniest thing that happened to me with insects, tell you in a sec, Jessica, I was just looking at Andy's. I can appreciate that, Andy. I've always had full face lids. I've got 2 of them up here. Well, one of them back there. Hang on. And seeing as I'm a Scot, or half Scot, that's one of my lids I had. Bit mucky now, it needs a wipe over and stuff. But it's been autographed. I don't know whether you can see it for light. It's been autographed there by a Scottish rider. Oh, you can see it there, just. It's autographed there by a Scottish rider. It were who rode in, I think it were British Superbikes. And you can look him up online. Autographed by Stuart Easton. If he didn't crash, he had a chance of winning. I certainly do remember Euro Trash, Ian. Who can remember Lolo Ferrari? Who can forget Lolo Ferrari? No, my funny tale about insects, it were actually wearing that helmet I have there. I'm an aviation fan, and we used to have an helicopter pad in village. And I used to go down photographing the helicopters because I'm into my photography and stuff. And I got to know a few of pilots, but I photographed all manner of helicopters there, from small stuff to big stuff. And anyway, this day, nice summer's day, I'm sat on the ground waiting for me. He were actually someone I got on with, though. Friends with him every time I've seen him since. If he sees me, we fist bump each other and stuff. A pilot, I think he's retired now, though, and sold Ellie. His Ellie's off the register in UK and in America now. Tried searching it, but can't find it. But anyway, I was sat waiting for him to come back to his Ellie. And he'd had a good history, actually. It was one of the Ellies Noel Edmonds owned. Famous celebrity over here. But anyway, I'm waiting for him to get back. And I took my crash helmet off and put it on grass at the side of me. And I stood there and waited till he got back. I did what I wanted to do, photographed the helicopter and everything. And it was time to set off back. I lifted helmet up, put it on, cranked bike up, set off, and I'm halfway up the road, and I see little dots going like that in front of my eyes. Thought, what the fuck's that? Then it twigged on me. I hit the brakes, pulled onto the side of the road, dragged the helmet off, and I was like, fucking helmet were full of ants. And they were marching across the chin piece in a line. Little bastards. But yeah, Euro trash. Used to like watching that. There was some weird stuff on there. Europeans are some weird folk. Don't care what you say. Yeah, I used to like John Paul Gaultier, to be fair. I thought he was quite funny. I like his aftershave mower. His aftershave's gorgeous. But the weird thing is, I've had some counterfeit of the same stuff, and it's nicer. Married with children. Everybody used to love Christina. Poor woman now. Sad. Still a good looking woman, but she's disabled now, isn't she? Al Bundy were awesome. Yeah, but the young girl in that Kelly, she's disabled now, bless her. Well, the woman in it, Peggy, she's done a few things, hasn't she? Mind you, Al Bundy he's been in loads of films and comedies and stuff. He's done well. And it's probably all been through that, what do you call it? Married with Children. Because wasn't Al Bundy on Coach as well? I'm sure he had a part in Coach. Pete Waterman is still around and he's heavily involved in model railways and real railways. He's just exhibited, he's making world record railways, the size of them, for England anyway. And he's building them and exhibiting them. He's just done the Great Electric Train Show. Michaela Strachan's still around. She does wildlife programs. She were always pretty, but she's showing her age, and unfortunately, the looks she had when she was youthful don't fit in with age. She looks a bit odd. She's old, but the look she has, she's still pretty. I still would, given half the chance. Future armour. Ooh, you can't beat a bird with one eye. And I'm not talking Gabrielle here. Leslie Ash, she was beautiful before she had surgery done. She ended up with a face like a baboon's ass. But she was a stunning woman before surgery. I have a book somewhere here. She was a model before going into, obviously, before going into TV work and stuff. And I've got a book here somewhere, Kodak Book of Photography. And she's in it when she was a model. Stunning girl. I wonder if I can see it so I can get it quick. I should be able to find it if it's on my bookcase. It's bright yellow and red. Just give me 1 second, I'll be back. Like Arnie said. That was easier than I thought it. That was easier than I thought it would be. It's an old book now. But she's in here on the first few pages. I'll find her for you. Before, when she was a model, before going on to TV. I know she's on the first few pages. Because everybody I know has a thing about Leslie Ash. She's very early on in the book. Very, very early on. It's a good, this one, for even today, because you only have your 3 basic things in photography to learn, and anything's just dancing with them 3 basic things, you're doing much the same as you were on film. Come on, damn you, Leslie. Where are you? I know you're in the first few pages. She's not deep undercover. But they're showing this. In some ways, photography's changed in the way we get stuff. In other ways, not a lot's changed at all. Because all you're dealing with is light, the amount of time you expose it to light, now sensitive, the media is that's picking up that light. Those are the three things you have to fiddle with. I'll find her if it's the last thing I do. Unfortunately, the index doesn't say Leslie Ash. But no, she's at the. She's certainly not to halfway through. I think we're getting nearer. We're getting models on. Oh, Kim Wilde. Absolutely love her. You know, over here, she started singing on a train. She was pissed one Christmas and she started singing on a train. And she had a brother with her and he was playing guitar. And they were singing Christmas songs and the whole carriage was sat round long faces like a load of poor-faced, miserable bastards. I thought, you've just got a free intimate concert off one of the leading women from the 80s, and you sat there miserable. I'd have thought, wow, give us your. I'd have been singing along, asking for autographs, seeing if I. Don't forget, she's single now. I'd have been seeing if I could pull. Either he's dumped her or she's dumped him, but she's single at the moment. I mean, my mate said you've virtually no chance. You only said virtually. There was no definitely about it. Oh, damn you, where are you? I know she's in here. She may have done Mick, but Kim Wilde was heavily into her gardening. She was heavily into gardening, Kim Wilde. She'd be more likely to do something with gardening. Pissing me off now, I know she's here. I used to read this book regular, so because I needed info, I'd have remembered what page exactly at one point. If I said, oh, I give up and put book down, she'd probably be on next page. Yeah, beauty. Hey, where'd you get them musical notes from, Raymond? That's cool. I'll find her if it kills me. Must be getting near now. Thing is, you instantly know it's her. Even though it's before she was famous, you instantly know it's her. You just keep me hanging on. Whoa. I bet you didn't notice the difference. Oh, it's killing me, this. I know she's here. In fact, there's a few models that were well known in it. There's a couple there. She was a face you saw a lot with models, as is. Mainly because she was stunning. But there's one of Leslie Ash in a park, and 100% her. Can I find it? It's pissing me off now. Lady Garden. No. Yeah, she definitely has attraction to her. How long do you think it'll be before I give that? Gotcha, motherfucker. There we go, found her at last. From her modelling days before she did TV work. Hang on. There we go. Stunning girl. Oh, you just would. She had such a beautiful face, then she let surgeons at it. And she did it when she were on telly on Men Behaving Badly. She come on that, she was beautiful on it one week. Then the next week she looked like she'd been hit in face with a cricket bat. I'm in the phone with it's a one across the hole. Well, I can't. What? Elizabeth Early. Have you watched Billy Connolly and Elizabeth Early? Watch the video on YouTube of Billy Connolly and Elizabeth Early. Very funny. It's on YouTube. He's at an awards ceremony. And she comes on. It's just classic Billy all over. Watch the video, Billy Connolly and Elizabeth Early. Very funny video. And didn't picture up long enough. You didn't even get to 53 change hands. But yeah, a lot of the stars you see, the women were originally models. Or did some shonky videos before they were famous. And have good lawyers to keep them out at public gates. Because a lot of them did nude work for photographers. Like Debbie Harry and all sorts. I've never checked, but I won't be surprised if Lady Gaga has. I mean, they must have had red hot lawyers on the case, but back in the 70s, when Bob Geldof was dating Paula Yates, she did a nude set for one of girly magazines, but they were disappeared because it went out in a magazine. You don't see it now. Returning to the scene of the crimes. Brilliant. Yeah, yeah. It were rushed up back then. Julia, like I say, Julia Roberts has full on palm. I've seen the movie. It's pretty good. But that she must have a red hot team because when it turns up, it disappears again. You wouldn't have that much of a crush on her now, Andy. She was gorgeous. I think it was the rough thing and the rough voice and everything and the rough image that made her sex because she was a really sexy woman when she were older, when she were younger. But I think the lifestyle's taking its toll on her now. I watched a video of her on stage, and when you remember her from a young day when she performed it, I thought you're too old to be performing. Well, I thought you're too old and you're too drunk to be performing that number now. She was staggering round the stage, and she'd lost the voice she had, which is a natural thing when you get older. OnlyFans. Oh, jeez. I'm thinking of doing OnlyFans. See if I can get enough to buy some track pins. Sorry, Valleys. Transvision Vamp. You won't get away with that name now for a band. 12-inch 3-speed Pivco. I don't want to. I don't want to know. They did her dryers, didn't they? Yeah, she were nice in early. Well, it were more late 80s when she hit it with Transvision Vamp. I think it were about 80. Were it 87, 88? I think, when Wendy James hit. I'll just check it. Spot on. I Want Your Love was 88, and she went on to about 90. Flux Could Kill. Nothing marked down for beyond 90. Baby I Don't Care were 89. Landslide of Love 89. Last one was If Looks Could Kill, 1990. Oh, that sounds good. I'm trying to think what Apier is now for a name. Isn't Apier a beehive? Am I right in saying? I know I've heard the name somewhere. Yep, spot on. Oh, God, hell yeah. metal splinters in with a tax. You'd know about getting one of them. Jesus, when I were engineering, I used to get every now and again from using power tools, from grinding, every now and again, I'd get a metal flake in my eye. And I used to have to go up hospital, have all the indicator put in. Like, pick it out, have a doctor pick it out. Like, obviously, local anaesthetic or doctor pick it out then. But I used to walk past bus stop after, because I did it regular, I knew what shit were going down. And I'd sniff up, and because it had been in your eye, it was a luminous yellow indicator, and I'd sniff up, going past bus stop, get it at back of my mouth, then spit out. And you should have heard on the bus stop, because you spat out and it was luminous yellow, glow in the dark. It used to make me laugh every time. Or an arsehole. But one thing I did one time, because I got a spine, they put a cover over my eye, like give me a pad and a bandage over it. And they actually told me in the hospital, they said I left it on for a while, but they said, when you take it off, make sure you sat down and at home. I went, right, okay. Obviously, I was paying attention. So I went across road to shops, and I decided on the way back, I thought, I've had enough of this. I think it was a day or so after. I thought, I'm taking it off now. And I was halfway across a Pelican crossing when I took it off. And I don't know whether anyone here. Oh, night, Ian, how you going? Catch you later, buddy. Yeah. I didn't know, but I don't know if anybody knows here. They've ever had their eye covered up for any length of time. If you take it off, when you take it off, you see upside down in one eye, but you see right way up in the other. Because it's how the eye actually sees it before the brain turns it round, and the two haven't got connected together. So you've got one eye upside down and one eye the right way up. So I took it off in middle of Pelican Crossing. And it only lasted a few seconds, but I went, okay, now middle of Pelican Crossing. Then sights started coming together, and I went, whoa, looking out to the other side. I bet the driver's in the car. Thought, what the hell is he doing? Valley's Artwind. I like some of Artwind's stuff. Oh, sorry, night, Mick. Oh, I didn't realise it was Mick that would. I'll catch him later. Oh no, it was. I can do 10 cans of cider. It's not the same, Valleys. It's still damn good fun, but it's not. You're still seeing right way up. It's just moving everywhere. You just have two totally different. It's weird sensation. Yeah, I did like some of this stuff. I couldn't tell you all of this stuff because I'm not a big Lemmy fan. I didn't really like, what do you call it, that much. Can't think of name now. Band After Art Wind, though. I didn't really like them much either. And I like rock, I just couldn't get into them. Motorhead. I just couldn't get into Motorhead. Yeah, it is Motorhead Valleys. I just couldn't get into Motorhead. Right? The only one I could name is Ace of Spades. And I think I only saw that one so much because it was on the young ones. Motorhead played on the young ones. When Alexi Sale introducing them. You don't hear of him now, do you, Alexi Sale? He actually came, he did a play him in my own hometown here. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance or whatever it was he did. I like Maiden. I could by no means name all this stuff, but I like them. Mind you, the other day I looked at, I'm a big AC/DC fan, and I looked back at some of their albums, and it's surprising how many tracks you actually forget about. You know, because you have your normal go-to ones that everybody knows. It's amazing the discography, or however you say it. It's amazing how many records AC/DC's done. Yeah, he probably is. He's not. His politics aren't mine, but he's an interesting bloke. Chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep. I'll tell you what, I had a band in the 70s, and I got bad from singing that song once. You can never cheer them up in an orphanage, I tell you. Oh, it's done. Metallica has. A lot of bands has done so much more than you actually know about, because as it goes on through the years, you just remember main tracks that they were well known for, and you forget about all the, even on major albums. I looked at some major, and I have some of the albums, and even I forgot about that one. Forgot about that one. Middle of the Road, Scottish band. She was gorgeous. Yeah, they were both AC/DC still, though, valets. They were still AC/DC with Bon Scott. Oh, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, the Bon years are good. But do you remember? Here's a bit of trivia for your valleys. You may know or you may not know. In fact, a couple of bits of trivia for AC/DC. when Bon Scott died, they actually auditioned a guy. He'd been a frontman of a band, but he was better known for a part on Off Wiedersehen Pet. Who did the audition? No, he did sing and he had his own album. Do you know the guy that played Wayne? They auditioned him because in the 70s, he was the frontman of Heavy Metal Kids. And if you look them up, they have a song on YouTube, Heavy Metal Kids, and he is so close to Bon Scott's look and style, it's uncanny. But he turned up to the interview drunk, and they knocked him back because of turning up drunk, because Bon Scott had just died of drinking. And Angus and that don't really drink to a great degree. But the other point is, bit of AC/DC trivia. What song was famously associated with Bon Scott before he were in AC/DC? You'll never get it unless you know, because I wouldn't have done. I like the country version of AC/DC where they're doing Thunderstruck on an anvil. That is good. You're not getting it? He was an Australian group, but do you know the song Build Me Up Buttercup? He was one of the backing singers for that group. He's a bit different to his AC/DC look. He's in a tuxedo and bloody dicky bar. But yeah, Bon Scott sang backing vocals for Build Me Up Buttercup. Yeah, Gary, he was called. Gary. Shit, what was his name? I'm trying to think of his name now. I used to really like him in the 80s. He were a good actor. He got a few parts. He were on Minder once. He were on Not Be the Same Beth. Yeah, honest, look it up. As God's me Jehovah's. Yeah, because I went, oh, and then I've looked at the group, and you can see him in background. Ooh, ooh, why don't you build me a buttercup? Yeah, you'll have a laugh. Anyway, we've done over 2.5 hours up to now, gentlemen. I'll give it a wee bit longer. I'm enjoying myself, so I'm in no rush if others aren't. We've still got 6 around, lurking in the background. But yeah, it's interesting if you look at comedy, like the entertainment business, if you look at Crossroads and stuff people did before they did the main stuff, you go, huh? Like David Jason was actually picked to be Lance Corporal Jones on Dad's Army. And he turned up and he only did about the first couple of hours. And they went, no, they don't fancy it. And they give it to Clive Dunn. But originally, you could have had David Jason as Lance Corporal Jones in Dad's Army. You're like, huh? Or you could have had Jim Broadbent as Del Boy. I don't know. I've never, Raymond, it's something I've never come across brass track. I've never had a section in my hand even. All the times I've been into modelling and been at my mates' model shops, been to swap meets, all sorts. I've never physically seen brass track. Weird, isn't it? It can't be something that's easy to find. Or is it? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Buttercups are that's a memory here. Ah, right, there we go. Yeah, steel were good when you had stuff like Triang and Hornby did magnetraction. But I've got some locals I'm going to be restoring, and I think I'll take it out of them because it's pointless. They're not magnetic tracks now, so it's pointless. It was good originally because they're the Caledonian single, and the other one, the Great Western, and they had that magnetraction, so all your powered wheels stayed on the track. But now they don't have that magnetic track. It bounces around and you lose contact. So I'm thinking of putting a spring in the front bogie to just keep it up. Thing is, just getting the tension right in the spring so it's not too much it lifts it off, but also it holds it on good. Yeah, I'm still surprised they haven't seen it though. Oh, that's interesting, no, Jessica. Yeah, I'm surprised I've not seen it then, Raymond, because I do get Lima stuff and I have American stuff, so just never seen it. Can't beat it. Code 100 Pico. Just about every layout. Everyone that builds a model railway layout, that builds a standard one and knows about it, goes for Pico Code 100. If you don't want to be asked on altering gauge of your wheels to give the proper gauge. Yeah, would have been way back. Well, that's the thing. If you stick to normal OOHO track, there's so much stuff you can run. I'm still amazed in the 70s when Lima did the HO British stuff that Hornby didn't follow suit to make this stuff the correct scale and gauge, or a lot more. I'm surprised they didn't do it. Oh, sorry, yeah, I did. I'm meaning, Ian. I'm meaning to mention you on one of my videos. I've got the stuff. I did say it was much appreciated. But yeah, I've got the stuff. Yeah, no, I don't. It was a baffling thing why they didn't convert over to HO to have a correct scale and gauge. It's always confused me why Army didn't do that. Whether they thought they want to stick with the product they have, or but it could have been a game changer for them, that, because it makes you wonder how much more popular it'd have been, because it was still same scale and gauge. It was correct, or near as damn it. I'll never understand why Army didn't take up that idea. Because you could have run the Continentals, because Continental stuff was Continental railways have the same gauge, real railways wise, as British. We have the same gauge. Hey up, Martin, good to see you. How you doing? I'll stay on a bit longer. I was just getting ready to bugger off and you turn up. Yeah, no, it's a confusing thing, Raymond. I know they wanted to use old wag, but surely a bigger market had justified going to HO. Especially if they picked the stuff that run on boat trains for so you could have it running in Britain and on the continent. So it'd give them a bigger market there straight away. For some wagons at least. Because at the time they had the ferry into Frigo and ferry master wagons and stuff like that for going across on the ferries. Yeah, a lot of them were between. It was like a split scale, weren't it? Double OH, or it was nondescript. It was somewhere between. So it worked with both. Because I had a Lima HO train set, a 4F and 3 carriages, and well, they varied the boxings, Lima. They advertised one thing and you got another. They were whatever went in the box when they left factory. And some sets you get a Fowler 4F with 3 LMS carriages. Then another set would have 3 LMS carriages and a Pullman carriage. Then they put something else in it. I think the last section on it was just to get rid of stuff like they'd had an overorder on or whatever. Yeah, there was some good stuff. Electra Trend had some nice stuff, but they've been bought in by Hornby now, so it's all part of that. The amount of continental stuff that's owned by Hornby now, the Hornby Group, it's scary. They don't have any competitors left really in Europe. Well, they do, but you're getting into the heavier end of locals. You're getting away from the kids' end because the competitors are doing the more expensive locomotives. And lost my train of thought. But yeah, they're doing, like, you look at what Hornby owns now. They bought out Lima, because let's be honest, before they bought out Lima, Hornby's diesel range were crap. They were all right. I like them. I buy them because they're reliable. They're easy to maintain, and they look something like what they're meant to be. But if you compare them to somebody else's, they didn't have a good diesels range until they bought out Lima. And most of Hornby's diesel range now are Lima moulds. But they bought out Lima, Electratren, River Rossi, to name but a few. I think they own Fleischmann as well. I think they own most of the continental ones now, aren't they? Jouef, they own Jouef. Yeah. Just give me 1 sec and I'll have a look. In a word, I think you'd struggle for a Corrado at the moment. Rev will do one, but that won't be anywhere near 1/24 Revels. Will he do one? That's 130 something. 1/18th. Yeah, 1/18th. Yeah, they're all bigger scale, the Corrados, by looks of it. You'll probably have to wait till Oxford release one. All right, I thought they might have got Fleischmann as well, Raymond. I know they have most of the continental companies now. Yeah, thing was Valleys though. Mainline models, they were lovely models. They were detailed. They were nice when they were new. But when she had to start servicing them and repairing them, and once parts failed, they became a nightmare. Most of them aren't worth repairing, I've had 3 J72 tanks and I've attempted repairs, and it's just not worth doing because by the time you mess around with them, it's still not that good. And to be fair, Bachmann introduced it And they did what should have been done on that one. They put square axles on it, so it doesn't, even if it cracked, it still won't spin. Even if the plastic cracked, it's still not going to spin anywhere, because it's a square axle. There's no up with the old triangle. I've got one on my bench, Martin. A 262 tank. And I think I'll do it for one. I might do it for one of the videos this week. It's about time I did a local. I've got time off. But I have to turn the wheels down to take the flanges down for modern track. So I'll turn them wheels and put it on. Because I don't think there's any I can take off. I might have a look if I can. I've done it with an 060. I took wheels and axles off a more modern one and I fitted them to an old triangle chassis. And it worked, it made a nice model. But whether I can do that, I can find wheels of the right circumference, diameter, whatever, and axles right diameter to fit and run smoothly. If I can find wheels to fit off another chassis, I'd do it, but I reckon I can turn them. I reckon turning them will be the best option. It's sad Hornby has a lot to answer for, Raymond. What it is, they don't like competition. And they'll buy people out just to stop them being competition. They'll buy them out and they'll not use what they were using. I've watched some of the business tactics while what's his name were there, and it's disgusting, really. Like a little company, they wanted to introduce a local, and they'd spent lots of money, and I think it was Rails of Sheffield, and they'd done all the research. They'd made a beautiful model. I think it was a Terrier, if I remember rightly. And out of spite, Hornby Railways set up at the same exhibition with them, and they brought out a Terrier at the same time to compete with us. They could have picked anything throughout, but they decided to go for a little company and bring out the same model at the same time. Simon Kohler, that was his name, and he was stood there going, beefing it up. I had no time for that. Saw straight through him for what he was. He was a greedy globalist. He wanted everything and he wanted everybody to have just Hornby. And truth be known, is because of the way Hornby runs now, they're not the quality items they were. They're made in Hong Kong. Well, not Hong Kong, China. Unfair to say Hong Kong, it's a fairly big place, China. But they're not the quality models they were. Yeah, probably. Raymond too. Yeah, there were some good models, valleys in Triac. Yeah, he was. He's not a nice person. People, you get certain people on railway sites that blow the sun out of his arse. Like Jenny Kirkgate and that. He's just a front man and a greedy globalist. Had more time for Pete Waterman than he had. End of the day, I don't think he had much clue on model railways. Compare him to Waterman. Waterman's a nice bloke, and he knows his shit. He knows what he's on about. He's been an enthusiast since he was a kid. Model railways and real railways. He's even worked on railways, Waterman. For the prices they ask now, Valleys, I don't believe it'd be cheaper. I think you pay a bit more. But if you got a decent workforce that were into it and stuff, you could have better quality. Evening Star, I've got two of them. I've got one waiting. I'm going to be spraying it black and renumbering it to be a normal 9F. Because I've already restored one for my channel. I've done an Evening Star already, so I don't want to be doing another Evening Star, so I'll do the other Evening Star I have as a 9F. I've got all the stuff to do it. It's only spraying it black and putting on the 9F numbers. Nicest Australian set I've seen at the moment. I don't know whether it's still on eBay, but they had a Frateschi and they had a GAN train set of the Afghan train. They had a full set, loco carriages and a really nice set. I'd have liked that, but it wasn't cheap. I think that was up to the 500 quid mark. 4-5, I think. I'm going to be interested now. I'm going to have a look now if they have that still. If it's still being advertised on eBay. Oh no, sorry. It might have gone down. HO gauge Frateschi, the GAN set with C30 locomotives and coaches, 210 plus 460. Unless that's another one. No, it's the only Frateschi item. Yeah, it's nice. I like that. Yeah. It's not cheap, but it's a nice set. That's it's an awful thing to say, but all this pissing about now, all these people blaming Brexit and for all this lot. Don't blame Brexit. Blame the politicians that are causing the trouble that didn't want it to work because they've got their hand in the honeypot. Why does a country need another layer of politicians to tell them what to do as well as their politicians? It's a gravy train. Every country has their own politicians, but they've got a set of politicians to tell them politicians what to do. Huh? America runs on less politicians than just England. Stupidity. You don't need that many idiots in charge of you. Because let's be honest, most of them do nothing for a living. Except stand in front of you. They offer absolutely zero. Because end of day, it isn't them running the country anyway, it's the civil servants. But yeah, the difference is China, if it's Brexit that's the problem, and because we don't belong to the European Union, France is less than a few miles across the channel. If I want anything posted from France, it's bastarding stupid money. You go on there, anything on the continent, if you want it off. If I want to buy something off eBay, the postage from the continent is astronomical. Even for something small, you pay astronomical postage. If I ordered a 10-foot inflatable elephant from China, they'd send it free. So, what's going on? If I can buy whatever the hell I want from China, and I can get free postage, why am I paying astronomical money to get it from France? It's just, I don't know how to put it of me. I'm just a layman, but surely others must be able to see the idiocracy in it that's ruining, because them are pissing about politicians. It's ruining it for business, manufacturing. They're all pissing on their own bonfires. Meanwhile, China's going, thank you very much, we'll do business. Goodbye, EU. We'll do business with them. And at the same time, China is going, hello, EU, we'll do business with you. Because they'll be getting free postage as well. So what's occurring with our? And the EU's politicians. And they can't work out how to get trade going better between us. They're just being as... They are, effectively, a set of spoilt children with a lot of spite because we've stopped them making a lot of money. We wouldn't have done. We wouldn't have made anything out of it. But you're stopping all the people at the top making a lot of money. Yeah, I like some of the Mantua stuff as well. I think I've got a couple of locos somewhere. Yeah, it's Jessica. It's a nightmare. Even in my own country now, people pay for tracking to post to me. They pay tracking, right? Now I get a tracking number. And I go to the Royal Mail site, enter that tracking number, and it says, we can't tell you where it is until it's delivered. Well, that isn't tracking. That isn't tracking. You've paid money and they can't tell you the person who it's being delivered to. They can't tell them where it is until it's delivered. It's not tracking. I want to know, have they received it at the office, where it's coming from? Is it in transit? Is it at the hub? Is it at my local delivery office? Is it on the van? Not, it's been posted. Have you had it? That isn't tracking. Exactly, Andy. 100%. And there's so many on that. They must think a lot of people are mugs. Well, a lot are. They buy it off them. They'll buy a load in from China, mark up on the price, and mark up on postage. And they think you're gullible mugs. I do a lot of comparing nowadays. I used to work in engineering, and ever since I've done it for a while because they were at it in the 80s and 90s with cars. The same cars were coming from the same factories. But here's one. I went in my local B&Q. I were in the market for a chainsaw at the time. Ain't saying why. But we're in the market for a chainsaw. Now, there were a Husqvarna on a shelf over here, say, in B&Q. And there were B&Qs, mate, over here. Now, with being an engineer, modeller, artist, I've got a bit of a keen eye, even though I'm semi-blind nowadays. I've got a bit of a keen eye. So I looked round the Husqvarna one, and it were a different colour, etc. They were different colours. But then I looked at B&Q's home make, and I went, hang on a minute. These are the exact same mouldings. So I looked into it further. I looked down all the spec lists on both models. Everything checked exactly the same on the spec list. So I looked closer at the design and the castings. They were the exact same mouldings out of the exact same moulds from the same factory. They had the same machining marks on the same parts. They were all the same. Everything were exact. It was the same chainsaw, except Husqvarna's was red and B&Q's was grey or whatever colour it was. But there was a huge price markup between the two of them for the exact same item. And all these people, modelers, yeah, you say, hear them saying, how people will go on forums and go, what airbrush do you recommend? And you get all the ones with more money than sense that don't understand. They'll go, oh, I've got an Iwata, I've got this, I've got this model. And the reality is that most of them will come out the same factory. Maybe not quite as good, but the biggest thing is the amounts of average Joes. And let's be honest, most modellers, they do good work, but they're average Joes compared to an airbrush artist that can use an airbrush properly. They're average Joes. They'll never get the extra benefit that having a good airbrush would make from having a Chinese airbrush. Well, good airbrushes prove it on YouTube. They'll compare a cheap airbrush to an expensive one. Now, these guys are good airbrushers, and they're airbrushing virtually the same. There's little bits of differences. Yeah, granted. There's little bits, but the differences are that minute. A beginner to average airbrusher will never get used to them advantages. It'll be just as good on a cheap airbrush. It will, Alex. The amount of bullshit, yeah, people speaking, I've got this top line airbrush, and I know they may be good modelers, and they may do fantastic stuff, and the work's probably good, but they are only average Joes at airbrush. You look at Ray Mumford's work, and a guy from the 70s, an airbrush artist who could use an airbrush. You look at Ray Mumford's and some of the top airbrush artists. There's a guy over in Ireland. He has his own company. He sells Createx paints. He's called SM Designs. He has his own. If you want to go and look him up, he does a good set of stuff. It's SM Designs, and he's on eBay. And he sells all the Createx customizing colours. But you can also look him up on YouTube. He's on YouTube. Just look at SM Designs, and you want to see some of the cars and stuff that they airbrush and stuff. He's a tutor and everything. Now he's a guy that'd benefit from quality. But when you get good airbrushers and the artists that use them, you watch them, you think the modeller just isn't to that standard. Exactly, Andy. Exactly. Even model kits, you look at model kits, a lot of the model kits that are released have been around 3 or 4 manufacturers. Like at the moment, Revell sell the old Matchbox armour kits. In fact, probably some of the aircraft ones as well. But a lot of Revell's armour mix are the old Matchbox with the diorama base. Because Revell do them now. But yeah, Hella, the French manufacturer Hella, used to do a lot of changing over with Airfix. Airfix has done a lot of AMT kits, like cars and aircraft, all sorts. They all swap out moulds and that every now and again. release them slightly different. There's one Earthix sold recently. A tractor, there's about 3 companies released that in different guises. It's the same tractor with different add-ons and different colours and stuff. Anyway, gents, I think we've done 3 hours and 21 tonight. That was a good little run. I think I'll call it a night for tonight. You've been fascinating company. Been an enjoyable night again. Yeah, Jessica, it's a fallacy. A lot of them, but you see, a lot of them buy into it. The best thing to do is buy an half-decent tanked compressor. One of the cheap Chinese ones. I've had mine 18 years now. Yeah, I've had my tanked compressor 18 years. Cheap Chinese one. Yeah, it's been an enjoyable night, Ian. Great having you along. Well, great having all of you along. Yeah, you're welcome, Valleys. It's been enjoyable again. Yeah, but that's one of my recommendations. If you wanna watch airbrushing stuff and that, just look at his YouTube. There's only a few videos on, and mainly he's showing you how to spray candies and stuff. I haven't got to go to work tomorrow. I'm actually off, but I'm just chilling. I've actually spent longer tonight because I've been ill for quite a while, and I've got some meds that have made a difference, and so it's been a lot easier. I've got to admit, I'm feeling a bit more chipper. I think my shaky hands are going, but not enough to take my name down yet. I think I'll keep that for a bit yet. Yeah, he loves his toast, Martin. I don't know where he's got. Bloody hell, yeah. I might be going off to my local model shop on Tuesday with me buddy. Cheers, Andy. Good having you along again. Tatty pie, Andy. I'm feeling a lot better, Ian. Like I said, the corridor at work, I used to look down it when I had to walk up it, and I thought, oh my God, it's a 10-mile hike. Now it's a breeze the other day. Like I'm up and down it for fun. The trouble is now I'm getting used to feeling better. My muscles, because they're getting used and used probably to a different degree. I'm getting more pain again now. But I think that'll go once I get used. Tatty pie, Valleys. Yeah, no, I think I'll go and get some supper, Jessica. That's what I was thinking along them lines. Anyway, tatty pie, people. Tatty pie. Hang on, end stream. There we go. Night, night, folks. Take care till next time. And adios, I'm gone. There we go.